The mega fight between Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson was a done deal until it wasn't. Reported by IFL TV recently, a unification match between Shakur and Davis would take place on November 23rd. However, Shakur quickly shot down that information, considering it fake. Tank Davis also made a rare appearance on X to call the report cap. But during a recent interview, Shakur said that he would eventually square off with WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis. He stated, "They wanted to make the fight. We just told them to send an offer. We haven't heard anything back yet. Like I said, that fight is going to happen. I'm not going to act like the fight is not going to happen. Me and Davis are the best fighters coming up, the best fighters in a 135-pound division. There's no way the fight doesn't happen. I'm not scared to fight him. He's not scared to fight me. It's going to be a hell of a fight when it happens." Stevenson also expressed his disappointment in Vasily Lomachenko's decision not to fight him in the past, but he also respected and looked up to the Ukrainian great when both were with Top Rank.
I always said that I thought Vasily Lomachenko was a hell of a fighter. He was somebody I looked up to coming up, and I watched a lot of his tapes and film and learned from him. But he kind of disappointed me with a lot of moves that he kind of been making since, as of recently, lately, and it just seemed like he don't want the fight to happen.
When Stevenson was asked about potentially signing with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, the former clarified that he had yet to decide on the promoter he would sign with next.
As who he is, I like who he is as a person. I respect him, like I said. But still, when we doing this, we gotta still know that I haven't made no decisions yet. No decision has been made yet. So that's what's important. I want that to get out there. But as far as Eddie, I appreciate him. I appreciate the way that he promotes me without even having me signed to a deal. And I appreciate him as a promoter in the sport of boxing because he's a good promoter.
Eddie Hearn also expects Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson to agree to a unification lightweight title fight after talks with Vasily Lomachenko stalled. Davis had seemed set to face fellow 135 lbs champion Lomachenko, but the Ukrainian withdrew from negotiations. An alternative between the 29-year-old and Stevenson is highly sought after, and Hearn thinks that it is likely that it will happen. He stated, "I wouldn't be surprised to see Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson, because situations and circumstances are everything. Tank's got all his eggs in the basket for a Vasily Lomachenko fight, and then that falls through. You're left holding your dick at that point going, who am I gonna fight? Shakur's a free agent. He's ready to do a deal. Timing's everything." Hearn and Stevenson have been in talks over a promotional deal since the WBC champion made an appearance at a Matchroom promotion earlier in July. Hearn stated, "I met with Shakur. A great team, but really honest conversation," the promoter added. "The conversation was, I would love to sign you, but I need to deliver the right fights for you. And if I can't deliver those fights for you, then maybe I'm not the guy to be with. We all agree with the right fights. I'm the right man for the job, but I've got to deliver the right fights." Tank's trainer Kenny Ellis said that Stevenson himself has stated he wants the fight this year, meaning the only way it doesn't go ahead is if he backs out scared. He stated, "Shakur said it. He would like that fight in November with Tank. He said it. He wants that fight. So let's see how bad he wants it now. I ain't putting the words in his mouth, he said it. He not with Bob Arum anymore, so let's see. The only thing that can stop that fight is fear." Asked what sort of chance he gave the matchup, Ellis was extremely positive. He said, "Huge chance. See what happens." Right now, there are 4 separate champions, one with each organization, and they are the WBO's Denis Berinchik, the IBF's Vasily Lomachenko, the WBA's Gervonta Davis, and the WBC's Shakur Stevenson. None of them have yet fought one another, though there have been big bouts recently, including Lomachenko, who beat George Kambosos Jr. to lift the belt back in May, and Davis seeing off the challenge of Ryan Garcia last April, then more recently stopping Frank Martin. Former cruiserweight champion turned boxing pundit Tony Bellew has now had his say on the 135 lbs division. In a new post on X, he has said he believes that there is one man who will be left standing when all is said and done, and that's Stevenson. He posted, "Shakur Stevenson will be the last one standing out of all the prospects and world champions." However, Shakur Stevenson's campaign in the lightweight division has been disappointing, to say the least. His performance against Edwin de los Santos was labeled as a snooze fest, and rightly so. Stevenson threw only 209 punches in that fight and landed 65. Nonetheless, to wash away the disappointment of that night, he hoped to put on an entertaining performance against Artem Harutyunyan in his first WBC lightweight title defense this year. That, too, turned out to be such a bore that his hometown crowd started booing him. On top of that, a lot of fans were seen leaving the venue midway through the fight.
We got a lot to prove. We got a lot to do. And this nigga ain't even nobody that's
There is no doubt about the talent that Stevenson possesses. He is an elite defensive boxer. But fans can be quite brutal towards a boxer who is gun-shy. Most fans pay hard-earned money to see fighters let their hands go during a fight, but Stevenson seems to be having a problem doing exactly that. On the other hand, Stevenson's compatriot in the lightweight division, Gervonta Davis, is a knockout artist, aptly named Tank. With 28 knockout wins in 30 fights, he unleashes punches packed with devastating power once he has figured his opponents out. Some would say the two opposing styles would make for a great matchup. However, for rising featherweight sensation Bruce Carrington Jr., Shakur needs to up his game before he gets into the ring against G. Davis. When Carrington sat down with Jorge Jaysmuth of Mill City Boxing, Jaysmuth asked Carrington if the contest between the two fighters had the potential to become a huge PPV attraction. The 27-year-old Brownsville, Brooklyn native replied with a resounding no. Bruce Carrington, who has been a sparring partner of Tank for a few years now, largely held Stevenson to be the reason why the fans of the sweet science wouldn't tune in for his fight. According to him, Stevenson has to come out of his defensive shell and let his hands go in his upcoming performances to warrant a fight with Gervonta Davis. He said, "Right now, no. I feel because these guys are young, they have time to build it up, and because how the audience has been taking Shakur's last performance, the interest of it is low. For it to be big again, Shakur has to have exciting performances, at least back-to-back performances." But Stevenson still has the respect of a good amount of boxing purists, and that includes colleague Joe Cordina. While speaking to Boxing Scene, the Welsh wizard praised Stevenson and dispelled his detractors. He stated, "It's mad because I see loads of people giving him stick, but if you love the art of boxing, you can't knock it. How can you knock that? He hits and don't get hit. He's smart. He's one of the best defensive fighters there is right now, so I don't understand what they're saying. I genuinely don't get it. It's people that just don't see the art of boxing. All they want to see is knockouts." In an interview with the It Is What It Is podcast, Floyd Mayweather, who guided a large portion of Tank's career before a bitter split, singled out the two stars as the best in the division for very different reasons. He stated, "You got guys fighting between 130, 135, and 160. They stacked around that area. As of right now, the two guys, the biggest puncher at 135 would probably be Gervonta Tank Davis, but the most skillful fighter at 135 would be, hands down, Shakur Stevenson. Davis has beaten all but two opponents inside the distance with some of the most well-timed and devastating power punches in the sport. Stevenson has just a 45% knockout-to-win ratio, but has, by the numbers, the best defense in the sport." Asked if skills were enough to be the best without the power to keep opponents honest, Mayweather said yes. "It's really all about skills. Pernell Whitaker wasn't a huge puncher, but he was very exciting, very tough, and he fought everybody. Shakur's trying to do the same thing. He wants to fight the best they got out there. He's asking, can he fight the best? I believe his contract is coming to an end, so hopefully we can come together and I can get him to the next level with the fights he needs, that he wants." But Jarrett Hurd believes that one could take Tank's power in the 135 division. Whether it's Lomachenko or Stevenson, Hurd says that no one is safe from Tank's outrageous power.
Can anybody take that power at 135, in your opinion?
Hell no. Hell no, man. If you look back on PBC, where everybody's hitting that punch machine, Deontay Wilder, Eddie Reed, all of them. Tank got the highest joint for a reason. Your man got bricks.
Jaron Boots Ennis was asked about how a fight between the two might go, and like many, found it a hard one to call. He stated, "That's a great fight, you know. I think that's 50-50. Two great guys. Two sharp guys. That's a great fight. I really think it's 50-50. They both great fighters. We're not going to know till they get in the ring. That's a great match. Shakur is sharp. He knows how to box. He's technical. Tank, he's sharp. He can box. He's got power. He can do everything. I think that's going to be a sharp type of fight." Teddy Atlas believes that Tank Davis is the only guy that can decipher Shakur Stevenson's defensive style.
Because Shakur Stevenson is that difficult. Because of his style, because of his abilities, because of his eyes, because of his, his legs, and his hand speed, the way that he controls range. Tank Davis is the only guy that I can see that could possibly decipher that style and beat Shakur Stevenson.
Shakur's style of fighting makes him harder to hit, but Tim Bradley believes that the only guy that could give a challenge to Shakur is none other than Tank Davis. He stated, "The only guy that I think can give Shakur a run for his money is Tank. The only guy, man, because his IQ is right there with him and he got that power, that one punch power to end the fight. If he catch fucking Shakur, bro, Shakur ain't never been hit, but if he catches him, bro, it could be it." But Bradley also thinks that if Davis tries to rush in on Shakur, he'll be torn apart by him. He added, "But Shakur's going to make sure that don't happen, and that's the concentration concentration that he has, he's going to have the concentration all night and he's going to take limited chances. It's going to be a boring fight, but Shakur should be able to pick it off. And if Tank starts to rush in and starts to get ahead of himself, Shakur going to pick him apart. In an interview with Cigar Talk, the recently crowned heavyweight champion Claressa Shields said Stevenson was top dog. She stated, "Shakur is the best. To me, he's better than Tank, better than Devin, better than Ryan, Garcia. He's better than Teofimo. Shakur is my #1 when it comes to those weight classes. He is me." The 4-weight world champion then predicted that Stevenson beats Tank and said he has faced tougher opposition on his route to lightweight. "I'm not going to ever dismiss a fighter. I think Tank got some great skills and hard punches. He's so explosive, but so is Shakur. Shakur has, for me, faced harder challenges than Tank. When you look at the guys Shakur fought, their records and style, Tank cannot say he's the best if he knocked out Ryan and Raleigh. Who the f*** is a Raleigh and who the f*** is a Ryan? Those guys would never get in the ring with Shakur." She further added, "People say it only takes one, you're right, but when you're only getting hit 5 or 6%, I'm just rocking with Shakur for that fight, and he's gonna be smart. Shakur's strong too. He's fast too. When he's got something to prove, he fights to a higher level." Evans Tobler believes that Davis is the king at 135 pounds, and a fight between him and Shakur would be very interesting. He says that Davis is the current face of boxing, and he and his team is doing a great job of keeping him on the top of the division.
Who do you view as the best of the 135 pounders? It's being billed as this 4 kings, 3 kings. It's sort of hard to keep track, but how do you summarize that division and who's at the top of it at the minute?
It's only one, and that's Gervonta Davis. Everybody else, they're coming up the ladder. So I'd like to see him and Shakur fight, and then we could, we can really say who's the best. But at this moment, he's the best at 135, and I think he's the face of boxing as well. He's exciting, he's explosive. And I think this Gervonta Davis is hard to beat. He's focused. He's zoned in on what he needs to do as a professional fighter. And his team, unbelievable. Coach Calvin, Coach Kenny, that whole team, those men know him. They know him as a man. And when you have that type of relationship with these fighters, the sky's the limit. So Gervonta Davis is without a doubt.
When asked about how a fight between Tank and Shakur would play out, Tobler said, "Well, it would be one hell of a fight, but we don't know. We do know one thing about Gervonta, that his IQ is out the ceiling. They don't give him much credit for that, and he can punch too. And then you got Shakur Stevenson, who's one hell of a boxer. We haven't seen him get punched because you can't hit him, so it's one hell of a fight." Shakur Daly says that Gervonta Davis only needs one punch to get rid of Shakur Stevenson. He believes that Tank will be able to hurt Shakur in the later part of the fight.
I feel as though he gets Shakur in the later rounds. If he gets Shakur in the later rounds, I'm about to say Tank really has like that one type of power. Like all he really needs is one punch. Shakur, he gets hit, but he don't get hit a lot. So it'll be like a back and forth type fight.
Jorge Linares also feels that Gervonta Davis stops Shakur Stevenson. He stated, "If Gervonta is fighting with Shakur Stevenson, it's more of an easy fight. I like Shakur, but he has so many crazy things right now. For me, it's more exciting to see Lomachenko with Gervonta. If that fight happens with Shakur, it's easy. With Shakur, Davis can do whatever he wants to do. Maybe decision, maybe KO. If that fight with Shakur can happen, I think Gervonta can kill this guy." Robert Garcia, who currently trains pound-for-pound star Jesse Bam Rodriguez among others, believes Davis is unbeatable at lightweight. Garcia said, "He's unbelievable, man. I think Tank at this point is unbeatable at the lightweight division against any of the world champions. I think he's the top guy right now in that division. He had a great performance. He has the timing, power, accuracy. Everything is great, man. He's a perfect fighter right now." Paulie Malignaggi has given his backing to Stevenson and thinks the Newark man would get the job done. He stated, "He is the best pure boxer in the sport. Nobody can touch him, nobody can beat him, including elite levels guys," said Malignaggi when speaking to ProBox TV on Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson would beat Gervonta Davis and make it look pretty easy. Davis's power is always a wild card, but Shakur Stevenson is way too good. Coach Larry Wade says that Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson is too big of a fight to not happen. He picks Tank to win the fight if it happens in the future.
I hate to say it won't happen. I feel like that's too big of a fight for it not to happen. I think the length of the time of when that fight happens helps determine the outcome of that fight. If I had to pick someone today, but of course I would pick Gervonta Davis, and the main reason because he has everything there is, including experience. Shakur Stevenson is extremely talented as well and very gifted. It's not going to be an easy fight for either guy, but if I had to pick one guy today, it'd be Gervonta Davis.
So what are your thoughts about this fight? Do you think the mega fight would happen in November? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.